So I was looking through my clips the other day and I realized that something was off about them. Something wasn't making my clips look good. And I want you to take a look at this clip and try to figure out what it was. Okay, so you can see that again. I'll put it in slow motion for you. This is sort of going to be slow commentary. So tell me what you think. And tell me what you thought about COD 2 in the comments down below. If you like it, dislike it. So you notice again here, the big thing, what messes this clip up isn't actually the aim, it's actually the movement. And I realize I've been doing this a long time. It's an old Call of CSGO habit. Basically, I'm strafing side to side non-stop instead of strafing when I'm switching the targets only. So I was thinking about it and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to do a movement guide. And hopefully I can make my clips a lot cleaner and better, and you can too. So we're actually going to start off with CS, since that's where I feel the most comfortable with. Tell me what you guys think about this commentary style of videos too, or you like the other style. Tell me what you think. I figured I'd try something new today. So in CS and COD, they have two different movements, all right? In CS, you want to be moving a lot because of the small hitboxes, right? If this guy moves just an inch, I'm going to have to micro adjust. And that micro adjusting is hard because the movement speed is so fast and they're so small targets, right? In COD, it's completely different because the targets aren't that small and you're not aiming for the head like all the time in COD. You're like tracking a body. You're tracking a wide, big body. So we're going to go through CS first and then we're going to go through COD. You want to be focusing on both short strafes like this, and you want to be focusing on long, like extremely long strafes, like if you're peeking something. I'll try to show you what I mean. So if you're going to peek this wall, you don't want to peek like this in CS because he'll hold your angle, like his crosshair placement will be right on you. What you want to do is wide peek this. You want to swing, what's called swinging. So if you swing and shoot, so a way we can emulate this is through doing very wide walls, very wide movements. So you want to focus on these wide movements, right? And you want to do this like you want to put your crosshair on the target as you're moving and then shooting, right? So it's not like you're doing this. You don't want to be flicking when you're practicing your movement because that teaches you a bad habit. And you want to do shorter strafes like this. So I'm just moving like pretty normally. Try to hit like a couple of shots here and there. This is really like my first game, so hopefully you understand the point. There's both shorter movements because that matters. A small little dot matters, and there's also the swinging motion where you have to do wider ones. But in CS, there's not. The difference between Counter-Strike and Val in terms of movement is actually in CS, if you peek a guy, you're often going to be like, you're going to be committing, right? You're going to be like 100% in to kill this guy. In Val, you can usually like burst. If like, oh, I missed this guy, I can usually move, readjust, and burst again because the movement speed is a little bit different in that game, or the recoil is different rather. So in Val, if you like miss, it's very hard to like adjust and spray that guy. Like in CS, I can like spray this guy and spray that guy and that guy and that guy, but like in Val, you can't really do that. So if you're playing Valorant and not CS, you basically want to be doing focusing on like these short bursts style of training where you're just bursting around like a target. But if you play CS, you want to be focusing on these shorter movements like this, firing all the time. So let's move on to COD and see what we can do in an aim trainer. Call of Duty, as said, is very different from Counter-Strike. In Call of Duty, there's very large bots, right? This is maybe a little bit too small, too large, but it's okay. The point of it is you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be doing this like I'm doing See how much I'm moving to just fill up like the movement bar? Like I'm obviously missing because I'm exaggerating, but you get the point. What you want to be doing is holding one button at a time, either A or D, and you only switch targets once the bot dies. So I'm killing this guy, now I'm switching. Killing this guy, okay, if I can kill him. I'm killing this guy and switching, switching. And even if I'm like missing a lot, let's say I miss like all the time, I won't switch directions just because I'm missing. Because that wants to teach you like, it teaches you to keep like the focus on one guy, right? But you want to do kill this guy and switch. So every time you get a kill, switch. So you don't like switch like I did in that clip. I did this in that clip. This is what I did. And that will mess up your aim and will mess up the clip because it doesn't make it as pretty. So you want to hold that. You see how I'm missing? Because it's a lot harder to like track a target moving one way. And it's going to be harder for him too to track you. Think of it like you're tracking smoothly instead of like tracking reactively. Switch. And you can see I'm actually playing target switching, which you might think, how's this going to affect my movement? Well, it's going to affect, because in COD there's obviously target switching, but it's going to affect your aim a lot more than a dodge scenario. So another reason why you don't want to be doing shorter strafes in Call of Duty is you have to look at it from the enemy's perspective. And we do that here through a third person perspective. So imagine I'm fighting this guy, right? He's moving left and right. It's kind of hard to track this guy, right? It's not the easiest. But if I'm moving like I am now, just back and forth like this, I'm basically staying in place. It feels like I'm doing a lot, but I'm staying in one place. Really, if the guy just stood like this and just shot like normally, just like this, he would eventually hit me because I'm not really moving. I'm moving back to my original place, back to my original place. So it's basically just these 3 steps in a short strafes, and that's what you want to avoid. That's why if you do long strafes, and if you do like this guy, crouch a little bit, it's going to be a lot harder, right? And so if you kill this guy, and then you switch to the next guy. What you also can do, and what I missed out on in that clip I showed you, is actually standing still. Now it sounds bad, but if you really want to focus on your aim and you're behind people, I would like peek this guy and then I would just stand still. Peek this guy and then I would just stand still and try to hit him. So that's something to think about, another reason why you want to do wide long swings. Someone like MP Control War does this all the time in his clip. Take a look at his clip and see that he's often standing still when he's doing his crazy movements. So if you go to a dodge scenario too, it's the same concept. I just gotta find the fucking one. Here we go. If we move to a dodge scenario, it's absolutely the same concept, but a little bit different, since they're obviously a way longer time to kill, so you can't really do that here. What you want to be doing is very wide strafes. Very wide strafes for COD. So what happens here is, if I'm going to slow down the time scale for you guys, what happens here is as I'm moving in one direction, he's going to be switching direction anytime soon. See that? And then I have to adjust. But if I'm countering his movement, if I'm doing the same movements as him, switching directions when he is switching directions, that's going to be bad for my aim, because it's going to be way easier for him, because he just has to track like this in one line if I'm doing the same movements as him. What you want to be focusing on is actually doing the opposite movement of him. So you want to do wide strafes, and you just want to one direction, switching every now and then in one direction. Because then I have to move and like adjust my aim while I'm doing this. Actually practicing my movement and aim at the same time, as opposed to like, this is just centering, right? This is just keeping your crosshair in one spot, sort of like a pole long dodge, right? So when you're moving like that, short strafes, it becomes more like this scenario. So no matter what the bot is doing, you're just doing this, instead of actually like trying to move and adjust your aim. See, I always have to adjust my aim instead of doing this. So, in conclusion, Call of Duty long strafes, all right? One direction and then switch when the target dies if you play target switch. CSGO, you can focus on a little bit shorter strafes and also focus on these wide strafes, these swings, what it's called. Like somebody's peeking, like that, like that. Hope it helped. Hope it taught you something new. Tell me what you think about this commentary. Was it annoying? Was it like, I don't understand what you're saying? Do you like it more when I do scripts? Tell me what you think.